All right, so I just want to share something that I'm struggling with right now today. I just realized on my way here, she was talking about my daughter, that today was her last full day of pre-K, and I'm sad about it. Can anybody relate to that? Thank you. Okay, I feel you normalized it for me because I've been struggling with that. Because it goes so fast, and I'm always grateful and thankful for the opportunity to see her grow and thrive and blossom into this beautiful, amazing little girl. Because when I was 18 weeks pregnant with her, I went in for what I thought would be a routine ultrasound appointment, where they're just taking her measurements, seeing how she's growing, all of that good stuff that they do. And right when the appointment was about to wrap, I noticed that the doctor was looking at the ultrasound screen just a little funny. And he said to me, "Do you feel that?" And I thought, feel what? The baby kicking? Yep, she's there. But his voice just sounded a little bit more concerned. And he said, he's watching the screen, and he says, no, do you feel that? And at this point, I'm a little frustrated. Just tell me what I'm supposed to be feeling. So he says, "You're in labor." Yeah, and so as you can imagine, I completely shut down. He said, "You're having active contractions," and then everything after that sounded like womp womp, just Charlie Brown, womp 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 womp. He's talking, and then he touches my knee, and I come back to, and he says, "I'm sorry, but better luck next time." And so what I did is I called my doctor, who was out of town for the Thanksgiving holiday, and I told her that this is what this doctor was saying, and I needed her to tell me what we were going to do. What were my options? So one option was that I could get surgery, but that it would be pretty risky at the point where I was in my pregnancy. But I decided if that is the best option for now, then we're gonna go with it. And she was really optimistic, and so I'm like, if this is what you believe that we should do, then this is what we're gonna do. So she looked at me and she said, "You know what, you'll be good. We'll do the surgery. You'll be back to work in 48 hours. Well, I was like, okay, well, it's not as dire as he made it seem then. So I did the surgery. 48 hours turned into 2 weeks. 2 weeks turned into 6 weeks. 6 weeks turned into 8 in the hospital. No shower, no nothing. Strict bed rest, not able to do anything. 8 weeks turned into 16 weeks. 16 turned into 22 weeks on bed rest. 22. And so what happened in that process is I had to learn pretty quickly how to become an efficiency expert. Because you take a type A like me and put them on bed rest, and that is a recipe for disaster and depression. And so I can remember crying for a good, maybe the good first week. And then I decided that at the time I was working in logistics for a startup company, that if I could get freight from Maryland to Africa, from Maryland to China, that I could coordinate that level of support for myself. So what I did is I enlisted a team that included everybody from somebody came to the house to do my hair, so I had a mobile hairstylist. I hired a cleaning lady for the first time, and I was mad that all of my friends were holding out on me because having a cleaning service for the first time completely changed my life. It's like, nobody told me this. Where have you been all my life? Haven't gone back since. And then my grandmother shipped meals on dry ice from South Carolina so that we did not have to worry about cooking. Can you guys give it up for that lady? So after that, I decided that once I had the team in place, that I needed to delegate as much as I could. So I took everything that I could think of off my plate. And why I think that that worked for me at the time, I didn't realize it. But there is something that's called flow. It's a psychological term, and it means that when you're able to let go of everything and you're not focused and split a million different ways on a million different things, like most of us as mothers and businesswomen are during the day, you know, trying to piece together what time the kids need to be at soccer practice, who's going to cook dinner, who's going to pick up Billy from piano, all of these things that we're trying to figure out. It's really hard for women to get to psychological flow, but that is where the magic is. Now, I didn't know that at the time, but what I realized is that I wasn't the only one that was experiencing this. So my daughter was about 3 or 4 months old when I started looking into starting my own company. So at first it was called High Risk Helpers, which was supposed to help other women on bed rest. But the day I launched, nobody on bed rest called me. Everybody was like, I'm a working mom, I'm busy, I have my own business, I do all of these things, and I need help, but I don't have a baby. I'm like, no problem. So that eventually turned into Queen Bee Concierge, where we help executive and entrepreneurial moms manage the day-to-day tasks in their home. So we do household management, match you with an assistant. The assistant will come in and take care of everything from laundry to meal prep to organizing so that you can experience flow. And so what I realized in developing Queen Bee Concierge is that sometimes we have crossed the saying, you know, I want to have it all. But somewhere along the lines, having it all and doing it all got crossed or taken for the same thing. Now, I believe that you can have it all, but you cannot do it all. And so I really struggled for a while, even with launching the business, because I was really passionate about it. There was a lot of people that I wanted to help, but for a while it just didn't feel big enough. I was like, oh, we're doing laundry. You know, so people would ask me, what do you do? So it would sound more like, instead of how I told you the first time, we do laundry, we help with meal prep, we help with just helping moms who are busy do the day-to-day, like no big deal. And then I met a lady named Chloe, who was an attorney, and she had left her job to help take care of her mom, who had just been diagnosed with cancer for the 2nd time. And her mom really struggled with being able to hold food down. And so she had one request one day, and that was to make a fish pie. I had never heard of a fish pie. Nobody I worked with had heard of a fish pie. So we took this recipe all together. It was like a team effort and figured out what this fish pie was, what it was supposed to be. And that day, together, we created a fish pie. Now, when Chloe's mom came home, she sat down at the table and ate all of that fish pie over the course of the night because she hadn't eaten in days. And so when I got the call from Chloe crying and saying, this is the only thing she's eaten in days, I realized that the only thing that we do is not small. It's not just meal prep. It's not just laundry. It is allowing women to really respect and protect their time for the things in their lives that matter the most. And so one of my favorite sayings from the Bee movie is that bees understand the value of small things. They know that when you do small things, when done well, they mean a lot. And so that's the motto that we kind of live by and go by. It's not about the little things that we do. It's about what we give back. And so even when I try to think about what we want to accomplish or what we set out to do, I want to remind you guys that how do you figure out if you're in a space where you have enough time, where you're making time for the things that matter most? And the easiest way to do that, as I tell people, if you're too busy to sow, then you're too busy to grow. So one example I like to give is that my daughter loves to cook. And so every time she wants to come into the kitchen, anytime I pick something up, she wants to be in there with me. And I'm like, ugh, like you only have 30 minutes to get something prepared. You only have a few minutes to get things done, but she wants to learn how to cook. And so that is a process. In order to be able to complete a meal, you have to chop, you have to saute, she loves to taste in the middle of it. So that's all a part of monitoring the process. But initially, I would be a little bit overwhelmed, like not wanting to deal with it. But I had to step back and realize that that's how a lot of us tend to run our lives. We hesitate to delegate, which means that before you start feeling overwhelmed and tired and frustrated and you get to that point, there is somebody around you that has a love for what you don't like to or don't want to do. And so by not showing her what to do in the moment, I'm doing her a disservice and myself a disservice in the future. So part of what I try to do is make sure that I leave enough time. Do I have enough time to teach? And that principle runs through my business as well. Do I have enough time to teach? Because I know that in order to get to where I want to go, which is the flow, that I need to be able to let go. Ooh, that rhymed. I wasn't planning on that. Thank you. But so I was able to be more patient with her in the process. And you guys, she's 5 and she can put together her own meal, okay? So thanks. So there's one other thing that I want to leave with you is that I can remember when I was on bed rest and I was having a really hard time and struggling, and the nurse came in and she said to me that each day that baby bakes is a gift. And I thought, wow, I didn't look at it like that. A lot of times we're looking ahead and we have 5-year and 10-year goals and plans. And so we get frustrated when things aren't happening fast enough for us. And I was like that too when I initially started my business. I wanted to get from here to Oprah tomorrow. People say A to Z, I'm like here to Oprah. That's where I want to go. And so we get frustrated by not being able to get the necessary steps, or it's not happening quickly enough for us. And so that's when we tend to get frustrated. A lot of times we give up in the process and we just don't feel like it's ever going to happen. But one thing that I learned to do that has helped me from that process is to simply dominate the day. Take one day at a time and figure out what needs to be done just that day. Just that day. What task can you do today to make sure that you have time and space and room for the things that matter most? What can you let go in order to find the flow? Not for next week, not for next month, not for next year, but just for today. So remember just to dominate the day, because that's all we have anyway. Thank you.